Crazy made it, where you at?
Shin Godzilla versus -1 Godzilla versus Tristar Godzilla can be pretty close. A three-way battle between the Godzillas that the power scaling community tends to bully a lot. And as some of you know, I can't stand for that. I have a love for every Godzilla, except for him. So I want to give them justice. And well, yes, it's very true. These three definitely are not the strongest, but they do have their own merits. In fact, some believe one of the three bodies the rest. And well, you're kinda right, but I think there's a little more to it than that. So your most hated kaiju power scaler, SHOUTOUTS, will go over how this three-way battle royale can get really interesting. If kaiju battles, Ben 10 battles, Marvel and DC battles interest you, I beg you to please like and subscribe or even hype the video. It would mean a lot to me, my friend, and help out a lot. But alright. No more yapping. Let us begin with the three-way Gojira headlock. Shin Godzilla. I'll be frankly honest here, he's probably my favorite out of the three, and probably one of the Godzillas with the most aura ever seen by mankind. In just a poster alone, he's already aura farming. Every time he steps on screen, he's oozing with it. Man, he even started the movie with, yeah, bro started off pretty chopped. But that doesn't mean he wasn't powerful. In his second form, known as Kamatsu-kun, he was smashing through streets and slamming buildings, then grew larger and more powerful in his second most chopped state. Already, before he's even in his Shin form, he's in the building tiers of power just by moving. Finally, bro gets the glow up of a lifetime and becomes the real Shin Gojira. Shin Godzilla is now over 100 meters tall and weighing in at 92,000 metric tons. That's some prime DJ Khaled numbers. Being at that size alone, Shin would produce enough kinetic energy to level city blocks, and he was eating high caliber bullets, missiles, and all sorts of weaponry like his lunch. But come on now, we all know the real juicy stuff comes from the atomic breath scene, also known as the greatest atomic breath scene in any Godzilla movie, don't at me. In this scene, we see Shin lay waste to Tokyo, causing multi-city block destruction even before the atomic breath fully evolves. But we can argue the beam to be more powerful, due to it absolutely melting steel. It can be calculated to reach the town to large town levels amounts of destruction. Bro's durability on the other hand is not as good. And if Shin were to get really pressed, he actually has a self-destruct button that would cause an explosion so big, it would wipe away a country. Yeah, see, I told y'all, Shin is not some building level fodder. But what about his speed? In physical travel speed, the less we talk about it, the better. In attack speed, his atomic breath is composed of photons, which would make his atomic breath relative to the speed of light or the speed of light itself. He reacts to fire jets and bombers and even intercepts bombs, meaning in his reaction speeds he can react to supersonic attacks. And to wrap up Shin, let's talk his abilities. Shin is one of the most unique Godzillas due to his ability to fire his atomic breath from his dorsal plates. And somehow, Shin wasn't satisfied enough with that, and he made sure he could fire it out of his tail too. He comes with a natural radar, helping him detect threats from all areas, and an impressive healing factor regenerating from even cells. And the big one, he can evolve! Although highly exaggerated by some, his adaptive evolution is very impressive. He can adapt to grow wings, he can create clones of himself, decrease his size, and he can even evolve to whatever this is. This is not instantaneous, however. Otherwise, Shin would have adapted to losing radioactive energy, instead of going inactive for 2 weeks, adapted to buildings dropping on him, and not losing at the end of the movie. Either way, if you give Shin time to evolve, he can become very scary. Shin makes it very clear, he's not here to play. Tristar Goji, or Zilla. The American Godzilla that's famously known for whooping Japanese Godzilla tail with zero difficulty. So how powerful do you have to be to pull this off? Off rip, Zilla just straight up stated to have the power to wipe out a city block, which is very consistent since Zilla tore through a building to a city block level degree. So already he's physically capable of harming Shin, but his durability, funnily enough, is what elevates him. In a weakened injured state, Zilla endured 12 city block missiles before hitting a grave. Adding all the missiles together, it would add up to 192 tons of TNT. So even in an injured state, you still need multi-city block attacks to take him out. Meaning in healthier conditions, he should be far more powerful. And due to him taking back shots from nuclear submarines, he might be town level. That's a bit iffy when bro was bleeding to significantly worse attacks. Either way, he's still strong. Now, his speed is where he excels at. Clocking in at 300 miles per hour when sprinting, he can outrun and chase Apache helicopters and even dodge missiles and bullets point blank. Now, either the military has the worst aim known to man to miss an object this big, or our boy Zilla is truly a speedster. Although he may not have the same amount of abilities as his cousins, he still packs a punch, having the ability to quickly burrow through earth and concrete, superb agility, hand this man a gold medal, and lastly, the atomic breath. Power breath. Right. But the biggest thing I think Zilla has is his intelligence. I've never seen a kaiju with a trolling mentality like Zilla's. Bro literally rage baited the military by tricking them into thinking he would fall for their trap a second time, made them destroy their own landmarks, pretended to die, and then later jump scare the military afterwards, and bro would lead their weapons into hitting each other. He's moving like a Tom and Jerry cartoon, but it's to his favor. So he may not be the flashiest Godzilla in destruction, but far from the dumbest, making him a formidable foe. Mine is Peak, the latest of the Japanese film Godzillas, and he by far has the best movie out of the three. Similar to Shin, he begins his journey as a smaller, weaker form, but after getting bombed, he becomes the true version, now growing to 50 meters and weighing 20,000 tons. And bro is cracking boats apart, jumping on trains, and annihilating buildings. Destroying buildings to such a wild degree, yes, you guessed it, gets him physically into city block ranges of power. But everyone knows the sauce is in his atomic breath. After taking about 9 years to charge up, Minus Peaks let off one of the most destructive beams ever seen, absolutely devastating Ginza, and having me on my knees for the first time watching. This absurd attack gets up to city level destruction, comparable to nuclear bombs, and that's all from his mouth. For his speed, Minus Peak is clearly the fastest Godzilla we have ever seen on screen, so I don't even need to elaborate any further. And just like Shin, his atomic breath is radiation based, meaning it should move relativistic speeds to maybe light speed as well. His reaction speed should be around subsonic. He can kind of keep up with fighter planes, but he's clearly slower. It is not really much to write home about, but his dino form has some scars implying he's been in fights before, and he makes use of his body, jaws, claws, and tails, so he's not entirely inept to battle. His abilities are generally the same as most Godzillas, but the big thing to note is his regeneration. One of the best regenerations in a franchise. I should note though, his regen isn't perfect, and it can take time depending on the attack, and sometimes it doesn't fully heal him. Either way though, he's really hard to fully eliminate. So could the other two even stop him? Well, I guess it's time we answer. The three-way deadlock takes place in any modern regular city, and the win condition is just beating the others up in a fight. They do not have to fully exterminate their opponent, so don't worry about the regen nonsense. So let's go over the advantages and disadvantages of each combatant, and then I'll explain how each one of them could pull off a W. For Shin, he's the largest in size and weight, he has the fastest attacks, the most range, and the best hacks. His disadvantages though, he's stupid, the least physically capable of the three, unironically the worst in durability, and he has the worst stamina. Zilla, he's the most intelligent, the fastest in traveling, physical combat, and reactions, while also being the most agile, potentially, not even joking, the most durable. His disadvantages though are he lacks range attacks and essentially has no hacks or extra abilities. -1, the most powerful out of the three, has the best regeneration, and using his higher ends, he potentially has the best durability too. Although he is the slowest in everything, taking 2 billion years just to fire his atomic breath, and then he needs to recharge after that. His insides are also weaker than his outsides. Now that we set up their advantages and disadvantages, let's talk who wins. My boy Zilla, with his higher IQ over the others, why not just let him do all the fighting? Zilla could rage bait Shin to fire his atomic breath at him, and then lead it to -1 and getting him cut in half, or vice versa with -1, getting one of the other to run out of power or weaken enough for Zilla to finish them off. Or, you know, Zilla not having light speed reactions could just get annihilated by Shin's beam, and -1 who couldn't even tag a plane also getting zapped, granting Shin a W. -1 could potentially survive though, either through regen or just tanking it with injuries using his higher upper ends of durability, meaning Shin, if he doesn't lock in time, is getting devastated. In fact, if Shin and Zilla are too distracted with each other and allow Minus Peak to charge up his atomic breath, well, it's over. Zilla, funnily enough, would speed blitz -1 and use his superior physicals to absolutely body -1, hopefully doing enough damage before -1 regens and gets really mad. Zilla could also do the same to Shin. Since Shin is a glass cannon, Zilla could just rip him apart. He just needs to avoid that atomic breath though. But if Zilla tries to catch Shin lacking from behind, he ain't surviving that one. Or if Zilla hits Shin's self-destruct button, they're all dead. But overall, I think I would lean more towards -1. He has the best attack potency, and his regen is possibly can't even get fully negated unless you blow Shin up. So either way, they all have an answer for each other, which I find fun about this matchup. But what do you guys think? Do you guys lean to any specific Goji out of the 3, or you guys also think this can go in many different ways? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments below. And with all of that out of the way, I'll catch y'all later.